Nobody runs the ball on us. Nobody gets past third down on us. Nobody gets in our end zone. Anything else is not good enough. That was from Chaz Chambliss. Hey, if you're going to pick up the Stetson Bennett signed Double Dogs, how about grab it today? The link is down below. Almost, I wouldn't say half of them have gone out, but if you want that, get it now because they're going out the door pretty quick. So, look, Chaz is going to be one of the guys that is responsible for the future of Georgia's defense. And there's not been transition on the defensive side of the ball for the Dogs in terms of coordinator. That's something that the offense is dealing with. We've not talked a ton about Georgia's defense heading into the 2023 season, but if you go back and look, Georgia has consistently under Kirby been one of the best defensive run stop teams in the country. I mean, and it's about, it's about really the players. I mean, there's no doubt that um, that that this Georgia team um, has really good coaches and really very good development. But they ended this past season as the number one rushing defense in the country. A year ago, they were number two in rushing defense. In 2020, they dropped back a little. Well, no, they were number one in 2020 as well. It was 2018, I believe. Yes, so 2018, they were not the number one team in run defense. They were, oh man, 31. So they were not exactly where they wanted to be in 2018 in the run game, but excuse me, in stopping the run. But this program in the last 4 years has had the number one run defense 3 of the 4 seasons. And when you start talking about what Chaz is saying, it sounds ridiculous. And we got to realize that we're dealing with athletes here who are motivating themselves. So it does sound ridiculous, but if that's your mindset, then I mean, it's not that ridiculous to want to beat people to punt. It's not that ridiculous to want people to not be in the end zone, right? And we saw, and we write about this in Double Dogs, right? Is a lot of the season a year ago, Oregon, they ran the ball a little bit in the second half. They were not effective after that. All the other teams, I mean, South Carolina, Kent State, the only team that sort of ran it a little bit on Georgia was Missouri and then the Gators. That was it. Other than that, no one really effectively ran the football against this Georgia team. Tennessee, the thing going into that Tennessee game a season ago, what's scared, if you want to call it that, what Georgia was cognizant of was the fact that Tennessee was okay with everybody thinking, oh, these guys just throw it all over the place because they're good at that. But they make you hurt by running the ball effectively up the middle. And they did that with Hendon Hooker. Now, Hendon Hooker was a really good quarterback at Tennessee. He did not do anything against Georgia. And the reason why was because Georgia's interior defensive line and its linebackers just were not going to allow it. It was something that they weren't cool with, for lack of a better term. I mean, it really, that game wound up the way it did. It wound up so lopsided because Georgia controlled that side of the ball. And when you look back at again, you're talking about a program. This is hard to do. You're talking about a program that has led the country 3 of the last 4 years in a particular category. Like Army and Navy, yeah, like they should be really up there in run offense because that's what they do. Everybody plays run defense. Everybody plays run defense. And to be that good, it shows it's not just about Nakobe. It's not just about Jordan. Take a look at this image from Dog Struction, okay? These guys right here from the Vanderbilt game. Look at this trio here. This is 3 first-round defensive linemen. 3 of them. So it's not really shocking that Georgia would be really good at stopping the run because they have 3 in that image from 2021, they had 3 defensive linemen that are going to go in the first round of the NFL draft. Well, 2 of them left, and the same thing happened. So I think, I've talked with Chaz, before he got to Georgia about, what his mindset can be before games, during games. He's exceptional. I think he's very good, very good. I won't say exceptional. I think he's very good at getting to the quarterback. And that's probably one of the things that got him to Georgia. But you can't just do that. You have to do other things too. You have to, play first down. You have to play second down to get to the point where you're, rushing the passer on third down. And Georgia, I guess I can go back and look at the numbers, but my suspicion is if you're trying to run on the dogs and you're trying to do it on first down, you're having a hard time doing that. I mean, it's just hard to pull off. So they do the work on first and second down. And that is probably the key to their success because, you know, run defense is based off of total yardage. If you're certainly not running it on third down, and I don't know what the percentage of teams that run on third downs is, but if you're taking away, there are more first downs than any down. But if you're taking away, 20% of plays because you can't run, that means you're going to have fewer yards. I mean, it's all math at the end of the day in terms of where you're at. It's all math determining how it works out. It's all execution when you start talking about how these guys continuously do that. I had a big lunch, but tonight I'm going with DoorDash, our friends. I'm not going crazy tonight. It's going to be like, last night I was telling y'all I'd gotten real kind of late with things. If you order now on DoorDash, the app link is down below. You get a $20 value, excuse me, when you use the code DOG at checkout. Limited time offer and terms apply. 50% off of a $20 value. $0 in delivery free for your first order when you download the DoorDash app and use the code DAWG. That's DAWG, DAWG, for 50% off your first order with DoorDash. If you've not used it before, it's easy. It works. It's great. They'll deliver it to you. It's pretty convenient. It's particularly if you're in Athens and Atlanta. There's just a lot of options. Savannah, Macon, everybody else, you know who you are. And a lot of the local restaurants are on DoorDash too in Athens. But for these dogs, you're coming back a season later with really a pretty good defensive line. Now, they do not have Jalen Carter. We've talked about that extensively. But to have Zion Logue and Stackhouse return, I mean, those guys are steady, really good, solid players. They are probably not first round draft picks, but they're doing their job all the time. And the board is over here. When you look at the board and you see, okay, they entered 22 with 14 defensive linemen, and you've got guys like Logue, Brinson, Stackhouse, Ingram Dawkins, Williams, Bear Alexander. I mean, they have a lot of guys coming back that played a lot of downs a season ago. That this just the defensive line, on, on the linebacker side of things, you have the return of both middle linebackers. Chaz Chambliss was playing a lot of downs and starting games in the at the conclusion of the season. It was just this team returns a lot on the defensive side of the ball. There are a lot of guys that are leaving. Keeley's gone. Christopher Smith's gone. I mean, losing those guys will hurt. But you return Malachi, you return Lassiter, you return both middle inside linebackers, you return Chaz Chambliss, you're returning Zion Logue. This will probably be the best returning defense in the nation, but if not the country, I would say probably in the SEC because there's not a lot of teams that have this depth And the depth came from recruiting. Make no mistake about it. The depth came from recruiting. I'm just going to see real quick who comes back from this Georgia defense. Okay, I forgot a couple of guys. Wow. All right, so this is from the national championship. Lassiter, Bullard, Starks, Stackhouse, Wathauer, Dumas Johnson, Munden. So 7 of their guys returned. Chad Chambliss didn't start against TCU. Okay, so that's a guy that's got a lot of snaps that will return. And there were times when Chad Chambliss was a starter for the Dogs. In fact, I'm going to go back and look at the last few games to see, because once Nolan went out, Georgia had to have a solution there. And it's also possible that Chambliss could be starting in some situations and not starting in others because of sort of multiple looks from the other side of the team. But Robert Beals started quite a bit. And Robert was not a guy that people thought a ton about. I mean, just being straight up. And he was a productive player, as a guy that returned from 21 to 22 as a very productive player. But it was Robert that returned, that started pretty well the bulk of the time at that third or fourth, however you want to put it, third linebacker spot, because typically they're starting, 5 DBs, 6 in the front and 5 DBs. And but again, this is just randomly. This is the Kentucky game. So again, who returns? Lassiter, Bullard, Starks, Stackhouse, Wathauer, Pop, Smile Munden. Those 7 guys. I mean, that's who it's going to be. So on the defensive side of the ball, when Chaz Chambliss is talking about how they're not going to let anybody score, nobody runs the ball on us. Nobody gets past third downs on us. Nobody gets in our red zone. Anything else is not good enough. Y'all, he's not just saying that. Now, there's a lot of just saying that. We're in that time of year. And frankly, in college football, there's a lot of that just happens. But they're backing it up. This isn't, oh man, we worked so hard in the offseason. No. He's saying, hey, look, there's a level of play here that we are going to control. We're going to control the defense. You are not running the ball on us. That's when Georgia's in trouble, or anyone for that matter, is when the other team is running on you. And in 2020, Florida ran enough to beat Georgia. It wasn't unbelievable. They ran enough. In 2020, Alabama ran plenty on Georgia that night. In 2021, when Alabama won, they ran enough. They didn't run all over Georgia. A lot of it was Bryce Young scrambling, but that counts. So in those situations, they ran enough. All the other games this decade, for the most part, now there's some exceptions, for the most part, people just didn't run on the Dogs. I'm going to go to one last game here, well, 2 last games here, which are the team, these 2 teams are going to be around that Georgia's going to have to deal with as time goes on. Ohio State should be able to run the ball halfway effectively against Georgia. They ran for 119 yards. That's not that bad. LSU should be able to run the ball against Georgia. They had 47 yards. So Ohio State nearly beat Georgia. They had 120-ish yards. That's the reason why. They were able to do enough. Nobody's going to come and knock Georgia back for 200 yards. Those days are long gone. And is that because of the mentality? I don't know. Thanks for watching.